Welcome to the Parent Guide, helping your teen overcome pornography addiction, where we dive into the practical tools and strategies to help you navigate the challenges of parenting teens struggling with pornography addiction. I'm Matt Bulkley, psychotherapist and co-founder of Therapy Associates and Star Guides in St. George, Utah. And thanks for joining me. I know your time is precious. And there's so many great options out there for how you spend your time and where to search for knowledge and learning that you're seeking. So I'm honored that you are tuning in today, and I hope that listening will provide you with some new ideas, learning, and tools for helping you to help your teen to overcome pornography addiction. And today, we're going to explore the power of a recovery group, why it works, what happens in our weekly recovery groups, and how you as a parent can support your teen's journey to recovery. So if you're feeling discouraged with a lack of progress or unsure how to help your teen, or you're just looking for hope that your teen can actually recover, then this episode is for you. I'll share research-backed insights, real-world examples, and resources like our Recovery Toolbox for teens to help empower you and your teen. Got a lot to cover, so take a deep breath, settle in, and let's get started. Let's begin with why group therapy is such a game changer for teens struggling with pornography addiction. So picture this. Your teen is wrestling with something that they feel they can't talk about. They struggle to talk to you about it. Their friends don't know. They're too embarrassed to talk to them about it. They don't feel like they can talk to anybody about it. They're ashamed, isolated, maybe even thinking that they are the only ones dealing with this. And it's a lonely and scary place to be as a teen. And that's where group comes in. Recovery group is a safe, facilitated, and confidential space where teens connect with peers who are facing the same challenges. I've been running a teen porn addiction recovery group in St. George for the last 10 years, and I've seen the moment in a teen's eyes light up when they realize that they are not alone and they discover that other quote unquote normal, good kids are struggling with the same issue. It's like a weight lifts off their shoulders. There's always a lot of anxiety and worry the first time that a teen participates as they wonder, well, what kind of weird or scary kids participate in a recovery group? But they soon discover that it is actually normal, nice, good kids, just like themselves, who participate in recovery group. So research backs this up. Studies like those, the Journal of Adolescent Health, show that a peer support in group settings can reduce relapse rates by up to 25%. And that's not just a number, that's a lifeline. Recovery group builds three key things: community, accountability, and practical skills. Community helps teens to feel understood. Accountability keeps them on track. And skills gives them tools to manage urges and to build a healthier future. Let me share a quick story. Don't worry, as always, names are anonymized to protect privacy. And I had a teen in one of the recovery groups, call him Jake, and he was 16 and a quiet, shy kid. Before beginning participation in recovery group, he was convinced that no one could understand what he was going through. And in the first few sessions, he barely spoke, mostly listened. But 3 or 4 weeks in, after hearing other teens share similar struggles and getting to see the nature of the kids that were in group, as they talked about things like getting sucked into late night scrolling or relapses, as well as successes and progress, he started to open up, and he actually started sharing strategies like setting phone curfew, and helped another teen brainstorm ways to avoid triggers. And by sharing what was working for him, he bought into the concept of recovery group and continued for many months and was able to use the group as a primary source of his recovery. So that's the power of community. And this is a feature that simply cannot happen in individual sessions. And the thing about recovery group, it really is a unique meeting, probably the only setting that they have ever been in or ever will be in, where everyone present is dealing with this same issue and seeking support and help for it. And the thing is, pornography addiction is definitely not a topic that teens can openly talk about at school or in any other social setting. And that's part of what makes pornography addiction recovery group so unique and helpful and why it works. So what exactly happens in one of our recovery groups. So our sessions run every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Mountain Time, either in person here in St. George for local teens, and then virtually via Zoom for teens from anywhere. And for the most part of the last 10 years, it was a face-to-face only group held in our offices at Therapy Associates. But last year, I decided to add virtual participation as an option because, well, for one, Zoom became so usable and the technology allows us to facilitate a group session. And then also, and probably more importantly, is because over the last several years, I've encountered so many teens and parents around the country in need of the service that is just simply not available in their community. This group is led by me, and actually, it's one of my favorite hours of the week. And I have chosen to keep running the group myself because helping teens break free from the addiction is one of the issues in my practice that I am the most passionate about. Each group session lasts about an hour, focuses on practical skills that are so critical for breaking free from pornography addiction. So here's just a little taste of what we typically cover in a recovery group. A huge topic is that of tech management, media literacy, teach teens the necessity and the value of learning to be responsible with their use of technology. This includes things like how to spot online content that might pull them back into unhealthy or addictive habits, particularly social media. Seems like every week someone will share something surrounding their innocent scrolling through a social media feed that eventually leads to being pulled into what we would call a rabbit hole and then quickly leading into pornography. Think of it like learning to read the warning signs on a road before you take a wrong turn. Teens share what they're currently embracing regarding technology management that's helping them to facilitate their recovery, whether it be giving up a smartphone for a basic phone or a flip phone, or having filters on their device, being willing to subject themselves to technology curfews or time limits or accountability software. And it's helpful for teens to learn that other youth their age don't have unrestricted access to the internet because here's the thing, too often that's the impression they get at school or around peers that somehow they're the only ones that are subject to greater accountability with technology. And some of the guys are using basic phones rather than smartphones. And it is helpful for new guys coming into group to recognize that that's okay. And it's often recommended. It normalizes the concept of embracing structure and rules for managing their use of technology. Another frequent topic that we cover in recovery group is that of emotional regulation, where have teens practice strategies for handling stress and boredom and loneliness without turning to pornography. And this might mean things like deep breathing exercises or understanding formatting for journaling or challenging guys to pick a new hobby and to report back on it the next week. Getting to the root of the addiction, including the use of porn as a form of escape from emotional stress, tends to be a primary driver of the addiction and something that we really try to hit on. And it's helpful for teens to hear peers share what emotions tend to be the triggers that push them towards relapse, as often it's quite relatable to everyone else. And on the flip side, it's very helpful for teens to hear about the strategies that peers are using to beat urges and impulses, and to hear about things like streaks and progress and goal achievement. And then finally, another critical topic that we cover virtually every group session is that of relationship building and striving for healthy face-to-face relationships. We explore how to build trust and connection with family and friends, which is so vital for a long-term recovery. And this becomes something that I ask group members to report on each week. And that is their efforts to seek out connection with real people rather than turning to addictive behaviors. And here's the thing, the group itself becomes an exercise in forming and developing friendships and connections with others. One topic that comes up a lot is that of setting boundaries with technology. Teens learn to limit their screen time, to use content filters, embrace parental controls, and just as mentioned, to be willing to use basic phones, to give up internet access on their phone for a time, to just simply go with call, text, music, no internet. Now, parents, this is where you come in, reinforcing those boundaries at home, like setting up a charging station outside the bedroom at night, enforcing technology curfews, setting time limits on screen time. These steps can make a huge difference, especially in the early stages of recovery. Now, the Breaking Free Workbook, which is part of the Recovery Toolbox for Teens, and it's available on the website, therapyassociates.net, in the bookstore. It has exercises that align with these group discussions. For example, there's a section where teens map out their specific triggers and create a plan to avoid them. It's practical, teen friendly, and something that they can work on between sessions. In fact, it's advisable. I like all the guys in recovery group to have the Breaking Free Workbook, the 101 tips for quitting porn, and I like their parents to have the parent guide, the Breaking Free Parent Guide. Now let's talk about why acting early matters. As we've covered in previous episodes, the teen brain is like wet clay. It's still moldable thanks to something referred to as neuroplasticity, which we've covered in a previous episode, and make sure to go back and catch that. But this is the brain's ability to form new, healthy pathways. Research shows that many adults struggling with pornography were first exposed as teens. So the idea here is by addressing this early during adolescence, that we can prevent those patterns from hardening into habits that are tough to break later in life. Our recovery groups leverage this window of opportunity, helping teens to rewrite their habits with support and accountability. Think of it like catching a small leak before it floods the house. The earlier you intervene, the less damage there is to repair. And that's why I'm so passionate about getting teens into groups. But I'll be honest, finding a teen recovery group can be tough. Outside of our program in St. George, Utah, I know that there are a few others. I know that some church-run groups in northern Utah and around the country, but they're rare. And most communities do have 12-step programs like the SA, the Sexaholics Anonymous, or church-led addiction recovery programs, and they're great. But here's the thing: they do tend to be adult-oriented and primarily attended by adults. And so when a teen attends, and the people are nice, like they will try to accommodate and be kind and accepting, try to help the teen be comfortable. But most teens that I've worked with over the years have told me that they feel out of place, and that tends to be more uncomfortable than helpful, and not many have stuck with it. Over the years, I have known a few that have committed to an SA group or an addiction recovery group that's adult oriented, but most attend once or twice and then decide it's just not for them. And so that's why our weekly recovery group, or the virtual option, is such a game changer. The teens can join from anywhere. They can connect with peers, work directly with me in the recovery group, all from the comfort of home. So if you're in an area without a face-to-face group, here's my offer. Even though I really like the virtual group on Zoom, there really is no replacement for an in-person, face-to-face recovery group. So if you know a therapist, a counselor, a pastor interested in starting a pornography addiction recovery group, I would love to consult with them and help them to get that off the ground. They can reach out via Therapy Associates, the website, and we'll work together to make that happen. I think this is a resource that every community needs, and yet there are so few to come by at this point. You know, one challenge with a teen recovery group is that the group attendance ebbs and flows. Just to give you an example of that, currently in our group here, we had a nice big group of about 8 guys that were attending on a regular basis. And most of those guys over the last few months have graduated high school and have kind of moved on to college and the next stage of life. And so it's left us with just a much smaller group. But here's the thing, you just have to roll with it. Like there are those weeks when there's only one participant, and you just roll with it. So to establish a group, you have to choose a day and time and then stick with it and understand that it does ebb and flow. Sometimes new participants will come once or twice and decide it was uncomfortable and then stop participating. And here's the thing, parents, this is where you come in. Like, got to encourage them to give it time and stick with it rather than being uncomfortable, in the beginning and then avoiding it and avoiding the discomfort of pushing through a new experience and getting out of that comfort zone. Let's dive deeper into the benefit of recovery groups. 3 big ones that really stand out would be, number one would be the peer support. These guys build camaraderie with each other as they're striving for the same goal. It's like joining a team where everyone's rooting for each other. Knowing that they're not alone reduces shame and sparks hope. And these guys form friendships and they look forward to spending that hour together each week. And it's cool to see, like, from guys from different parts of the country who, one guy might be in the state of Washington, another guy in the state of Minnesota, but yet they form a friendship and they encourage each other. They look forward to getting the updates on how each person's efforts to achieve recovery are going. So, along those lines, and secondly, is the weekly accountability. So, checking in each week helps teens stay focused. They share wins, like going a week without a slip up, or troubleshooting setbacks in this safe space. One thing that we do is I have each group member report on their efforts to maintain their recovery. And if they do have a slip, then we troubleshoot it, which brings us to the third focus of, or the third benefit of the group, and that's the workshop to troubleshoot relapses. So we teach teens how to analyze a relapse, identify what triggered it, and create a plan to avoid it next time. So it's like learning to navigate a trail after tripping on a route. You figure out where the obstacles are, and you recommit and you keep going. And I think that's a really valuable exercise, both for the teen who's troubleshooting as well as for the other group members who get to observe that process. I think everybody gleans a lot. Now, these benefits are amplified by the 101 tips for teens quitting, or 101 tips for quitting porn workbook for teens, which is part of the Recovery Toolbox. And it's something that I like the group members to report on each week as well, where I have them choose 5 tips and then report back on their efforts to implement those tips during the week. In that workbook, it's packed with strategies like distraction techniques or swapping screen time for meaningful activities. And teens can bring these up into the group discussions. For example, one tip suggests a go-to list of activities like shooting hoops or sketching to turn to when urges hit. And along those lines, another quick story, a teen in our group, call him Mike, struggling with late night phone use. In recovery group, he'd shared how he'd get caught in a cycle of scrolling and then stumble across triggering content, usually from social media. And the group brainstormed with him, and he decided to try a no screens after 9 p.m. rule, paired with reading a book rather than scrolling on technology to wind down. And he came back the next week stoked because he'd stuck to that and it led to a perfect week. So that's the kind of practical progress that these groups can foster. Now, parents, let's talk about your role. Group therapy is powerful, but it works best when you're in your teen's corner. So, 3 ways that you can support their recovery. Number 1, reinforce the boundaries at home. So, work with your teen to set screen time limits or to install content filters. The Breaking Free for Parents workbook has a great tool. We've covered it in a previous episode, called the Color Code Status Board. And it's a visual, kind of nonverbal way to track your teen's progress and reinforce accountability. It's almost like a scoreboard that celebrates wins. So if you're not familiar with it, go back and listen to the episode on that and consider implementing that as a way to reinforce weekly accountability and communication. Second is to encourage participation. Let your teen know that you're proud of them for joining recovery group. Simple, I'm rooting for you can go a long way. Avoid judgment if there's slips. Focus on progress and not perfection. And as we talked about, just when it comes to getting the teen to buy into the intervention of a recovery group, encourage them to avoid giving up quickly, but to give it time. A third would be to consider family therapy. Recovery group is great for teens, but combining it with other therapies, including family therapy, can really help to strengthen your relationship and address deeper emotional dynamics that could be contributing to the persistence of the addiction. Well, so what if recovery group isn't enough? And it's a fair question. Sometimes a teen might attend group but still struggle. And recovery group functions as best as a support to individual therapy and working through a structured curriculum like the Breaking Free workbook. And that's where I mentioned that I like all the guys to have the Recovery Toolbox so that they have the structure as well as the practical tips. And remember, a relapse isn't a failure. It is a sign that they need extra support. In a way, think of it like a sprained ankle where sometimes you need a brace, other times you need physical therapy. At Therapy Associates, we offer outpatient counseling for more one-on-one support over a period of time while the teen is working to establish a recovery. So, it's not uncommon for a teen to be doing individual sessions and also participating in the weekly recovery group. And for teens who are in need of more intensive intervention, our Star Guides program, intensive residential level, provides a structured, in the range of 90 to 120 days, unplugged environment to reset and rebuild. And check out an earlier episode about Star Guides, as it is the ultimate intervention for helping a teen to break free from pornography addiction. The key is resilience. So the teen brain is wired to bounce back, and with the right tools, like that's in the Recovery Toolbox for teens, a lasting change is possible. The toolbox includes the Breaking Free Parent Guide, 101 tips for quitting porn, plus resources for parents to stay engaged in the process. And as I mentioned, you can find that on the therapyassociates.net website in the bookstore. So parents, helping your teen overcome pornography addiction is a journey. But recovery group can be a turning point in that. It's about building community, fostering accountability, equipping your teen with skills for a healthier future. So whether you join the in-person group, if you're in St. George in Southern Utah here, or if you join via the virtual option with the Zoom, Tuesdays, 4 p.m. Mountain Time, you're giving your teen a chance to connect, grow, and heal. For more resources, check out the therapyassociates.net website. As I've mentioned, the Recovery Toolbox for teens. We have the Parent Resource Library, which is on the blog link on the website. And there's 200 articles, research, strategies for helping parents to know how to best support their teen. And if you're local, let's get your teen involved in our counseling services, including the recovery group. If you're out of the area, let's see what we can do to get your teen involved virtually with the online recovery group, or using the Recovery Toolbox for teens. And then again, if you're in need of intensive intervention because of safety or risk concerns, sexual acting out, pervasive mental health issues like self-harm or suicidality, or if there's a level of resistance on your teen's part to participate in outpatient treatment, or to allow you to have, as a parent, have any influence in their life, then Star Guides is probably the intervention that you need. Parents, if this episode resonated with you, share it with other parents that might need it. Drop me a message on the website with thoughts or questions, or if you want to start a recovery group in your area. We need more teen recovery groups around the country. I'm here to help. Make sure to pick up the toolbox for teens. Remember, it's the blue toolbox. There's a brown one in there, which is the adult version. We want the blue one. So thanks for being with me today, and let's keep this conversation going. And I will see you in the next episode.